Good morning, everybody, and welcome on this Labor Day weekend. Have we got a singing bowl? Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our circle. Here we go. Welcome everyone on this Labor Day weekend. Welcome to our circle of care and love, this beloved community where all are welcome, where we are welcome to be all of who and what we are, where our stories and our struggles and our gifts and our spiritual journeys are embraced and celebrated. And I especially want to welcome anyone who might be here for the first time. Our prelude, which we'll hear in just a moment, was recorded and sung by Lynda Clark. So welcome on this beautiful morning of cool breezes, sunshine, and bird song. Enter in and rest for an hour in the garden of our community.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's dew. Sunlight from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
We enter this circle for kindness and comfort. May rough, worn hands and aching backs be healed. We enter this circle of hope for equality. May those who labor to survive live to know justice. We enter this circle of love and vocation. May our bonds of solidarity be strengthened. We enter this circle of courage and friendship. May we proceed hand in virtual hand toward freedom. Our chalice lighting this morning will be said by Lynda Clark.
At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.
And now we will join Olga as she leads us in the hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in.
Holy place, when our heart is in the holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in the holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in the holy place. When our heart is in the holy place, when our heart is in the holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in the holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a love in mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in the holy place. When our heart is in the holy place, when our heart is in the holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in the holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in the holy place. When our heart is in the holy place, when our heart is in the holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. And our heart is in the holy place, when our heart is in the holy place.
Thank you, Olga. My goodness, that new microphone makes a huge difference. It sounds so great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ellen.
I'd like to share a story with you this morning. It's from one of my favorite bloggers, what used to be in our generation called a columnist, Teacher Tom, whose byline is teaching and learning from preschoolers. The story's called You're Doing It Wrong. He says the father knelt beside his 2-year-old son as the boy was trying to put on his own shoes. It was a lazy, sunny midsummer Monday afternoon. In the normal scheme of things, this father would have been at the office of one of the local tech giants. But today, as he has for months now, and as he will be doing for months to come, he's working from home, which is one of the stories of this pandemic. The boy was being slow and deliberate, not yet succeeding in his self-appointed task, but likewise not yet failing. One shoe scooted across the porch decking as he tried to insert a toe. Now the shoe was just out of reach. He bent at the waist from his sitting position, stretching toward it, but it was just a bit too far away. Now you kicked it away, the father said. I'm going to do it for you. No, the boy replied. I do it. The father reached out to push the shoe closer to his son. I could see wrinkles of frustration in his expression. Okay, then do it. The boy pulled at the opening to the shoe as if trying to stretch it wider, a strategy that I use myself. He laid the shoe on the ground, then tried once more to insert a toe, again pushing it out of reach. You're doing it wrong, the father scolded. The man again pushed the shoe closer to the boy, saying, you have to hold it with your other hand, or it will keep moving away. Taking no heed of his father, the boy turned his attention to the other shoe. He slid it on his hand, making a close study of the process, as if trying to understand how it all worked. You are still doing it wrong. It goes on your foot. The father's irritation was just below the surface, as he was clearly struggling with it. The boy held his well-shod hand close to his father's eyes, showing him what he had done. "You have put the shoe on your hand, but it goes on your foot." The father's words were clipped through a tight jaw. If this had been happening at school, I likely would have put a hand on the father's shoulder and role modeled informational language, something like, "You've put the shoe on your hand." I might have pointed out to the father that his son was teaching himself to put on his own shoes, that he wasn't asking for help, that his trial and error process was allowing him to look at the challenge from a variety of angles, to understand it fully, and that each thing he did was a step along the path to eventual mastery. I would have said something about it not being a race, or that there is no right and wrong when someone is in the process of learning. But this was happening on the front porch of a private home, and I was a mere stranger who happened to be passing by. The boy giggled wildly, taking his father's words as a joke. "Of course shoes go on feet." He then inserted his free hand into the other shoe, holding them both in his father's face, delighted with himself, enjoying the joke. His father couldn't help himself. His tension evaporated as he laughed as well, joining his boy in the joy of a process that would one day be so routine he wouldn't have to think about it. One day, the skill he was teaching himself there on the front porch with his work-from-home father would be second nature. But now it was a process in which to delight, to discover, and through which to connect. Maybe this accidental joke was a light bulb for this parent. The father said, "You're doing it wrong," but this time with a jesting tone. The boy screamed in delight, waving the shoes in front of him. "You are doing it so wrong." The boy was hysterical now, screaming his laughter. "Shoes don't go on your hands," he said, rolling his eyes. His son was nearly incapacitated from laughter. When the boy then threw the shoes one by one into the lawn, his father said, "Now you are doing it very, very wrong. Shoes don't go on grass, they go on feet." This was so funny, the boy could hardly catch his breath. As I continued on my way, I heard the peals of laughter behind me, a father and son learning together on a sunny midsummer Monday afternoon. The pandemic stories we see on television are mostly grim, but this is also a pandemic story, one being told in homes around the world as parents and their children discover one another. I think I'll say a final joy for and deep gratitude for all of the help and concern that Ginger and I have been offered by everyone in the congregation as we are going through this big change in our lives. And I just want to encourage us all to lift up each of the joys and concerns that were spoken and those that remain unspoken in our hearts as we sing together, Draw the Circle Wide. Please remember to mute.
No one stands alone.
So I have our reading this morning, The Labor of Our Day by Jennifer Willett. What images come to mind when I say Labor Day? Chances are you think of the holiday weekend and celebrations with your loved ones, the federal holiday, unions and the cause of a working wage and benefits, maybe the history of the struggle of working people to have a fair share of the profits from their work. Those are all great. Now I want you to think of your parents and caregivers. The parent that fed you, bathed you, nurtured you, and taught the building blocks of how to be in the world. Now think of your elders. Who shops for them, goes to the doctors with them, cleans for them, and cares for them when they begin to fail. Now think of those that have physical and mental challenges of differing degrees. They come in all ages. Who assists them in the daily tasks that make day-to-day life easier and sometimes possible at all? Much of this work is unpaid labor, yet the work of homemaking, child care, elder care, and differently abled care isn't part of our economic system. It doesn't count in our GDP, but our society would collapse without it. Now consider the other non-paid labor we do to mentor, to educate, to assist, to advocate, to entertain, and enrich the community, the world, and the country. Think of all that we do for our neighbors, our friends, our community, to make life better. This is labor. A paycheck isn't the only measure of your work. Without this labor, our world would be a lonelier and more desperate place. Honor your labor. If you work for money, this holiday is for you. If you work for love, this holiday is still for you. Our work makes the world better. Enjoy your day.
Our labor of love, the work that reconnects. Our world hangs like a magnificent jewel in the vastness of space. Every one of us is a part of that jewel, a facet of that jewel. And in the perspective of infinity, our differences are infinitesimal. We are intimately related. May we never even pretend that we are not. Here's a wonderful story that came from the Seattle Special Olympics. For the 100-yard dash, there were 9 contestants, all of them so-called physically or mentally disabled. All 9 of them assembled at the starting line, and at the sound of the gun, they took off. But not long afterward, one little boy stumbled and fell and hurt his knee and began to cry. The other 8 children heard him crying. They slowed down, turned around, and ran back to him. Every one of them ran back to him. One little girl with Down syndrome bent down and kissed the boy and said, "This'll make you better." The little boy got up, and he and the rest of the runners linked their arms together and joyfully walked to the finish line. They all finished the race at the same time. And when they did, everyone in that stadium stood up and clapped and whistled and cheered for a long, long time. People who were there are still telling this story with great delight. And you know why. Because deep down, we know what matters in this life is more than winning for ourselves. What really matters is helping others win too, even if it means slowing down and changing our course now and then. I've been reading this book, Active Hope: How to Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy, by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnstone, and discussing it with Audrey and a couple of other people in a book discussion that has been going for several weeks. The mess we're in that the authors refer to is the climate crisis, as this was written a couple of years ago. But the approach to identifying and engaging in hopeful action applies equally well to the other crises that we are suddenly facing on top of the ongoing climate emergency. This pandemic and the alarming rise of tribalism, nationalism, and fascist grabs for power that we see in many democratic nations, the push for Black Lives Matter and the resistance to it. We are in many ways right now in a mess. Macy and Johnstone tell us that any situation we face resolves in a range of different ways, some much better, others much worse. Active hope involves identifying the outcomes we hope for and then playing an active role in bringing them about. We don't wait until we are sure of success. We don't limit our choices to the outcomes that seem likely. Instead, we focus on what we truly, deeply long for, and then we proceed to take determined steps in that direction. We can react to world crises by rising to the occasion with wisdom, courage, and care. With active hope, we consciously choose to draw out our best responses so that we might surprise even ourselves by what we bring forth. The work the world stands so desperately in need of right now is the work of reconnection, as our stories have illustrated this morning. We need reconnection with the natural world so that we may love it and nourish and protect it as we draw nourishment and protection from nature. We need reconnection with other people, realizing that all people, not just white people, not just wealthy people, not just healthy or strong people, but all people are worthy of respect and dignity, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Each human life contains the means of blessing humanity as a whole, and there are no expendable lives, none at all. Reconnection with a world community is also needed, as this pandemic has made so crystal clear that the actions and welfare of people anywhere affect all of us everywhere. No nation, state, town, or family can be an island unto itself. We all need us all to thrive. The work that reconnects can be seen as a spiral. And Pam, if you have that slide of the spiral, you can put it up. The spiral reminds us that we are larger, stronger, deeper, and more creative than we have been brought up to believe. It maps out an empowerment process that journeys through 4 successive movements or stations, rooted in gratitude, honoring our pain, seeing with new eyes, and going forth. And once we reach that, we are back to the beginning of the spiral on a new plane with gratitude, honoring our pain, seeing with new eyes, and going forth. The spiral offers a transformational journey that deepens our capacity to act for the sake of life on Earth. We call it a spiral rather than a cycle because every time we move through the 4 stations, we experience them differently. This spiral provides a structure we can fall back on and into whenever we need to tap into the resilience and resourcefulness arising from the larger web of life. I have found this to be true in my own personal life recently, when I have been feeling really down and full of struggle internally. I have found that going through this spiral has been really helpful and centering. A moment of gratitude draws attention to what sustains you and strengthens your capacity to look at rather than turn away from disturbing information and pain, and to feel whatever you feel. And when you honor your pain for the world, you realize it comes from your caring, compassion, and connection. Such precious things. Then you can see with new eyes, realizing that you are not alone facing this. You are just one part of a much larger story. Widening your vision increases the resources available to you, and you can let go of feeling that you need to sort everything out all by yourself. Instead, you focus on finding and playing your part, offering your gift of active hope, your best contribution to the healing of our world. You can go forth in confidence, knowing you are one of many, playing an important part in the healing and reconnecting of our world. Thank you, Pam. You can take that down now. Each person has a gift to offer. Each individual gift is a vital and unique part of our power to change and heal the world. Think of all that we collectively do for our neighbors, our friends, our community, to make life better. This congregation has in recent weeks offered shelter to people who needed a temporary home, brought gifts of food and household items and companionship to people who needed them, offered a smile or a kind word that made a huge difference in someone's day, given to causes we believe in, voted and helped encourage others to vote, given countless hours and dollars to our congregation and our UU denomination to help keep the light of liberal religion burning brightly in our corner of the world. And these are just the gifts I personally know of. We are already rising to the occasion with wisdom, courage, and care. And we will continue. We will engage with the world as it is, grateful for its blessings, lamenting and honoring the pain as it comes, allowing our vision to deepen and widen and lift us higher than we have ever dreamed, and finding the active hope to engage the world as lovers and healers and connected in beloved community. This is our labor of love. This is the work that reconnects. Are you ready for the ride? Let's do this together. And now I conclude our service with these words of benediction by Reverend Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.
proud, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Why-ya-ya, 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 why-ya-ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Why-ya-ya, 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 why-ya-ya.
Thank you for joining us in worship today. We will be soon breaking into breakout rooms for our coffee hour. I want to mention that donations to our First Parish Ministry are always appreciated, and information on how to do that is in our chat box. But as always, if you're struggling in these difficult economic times, please first take care of yourself. Our half plate offering this month is You the Vote, because voting our conscience is more important now than it has ever been. And so in a moment, you'll be invited into one of our coffee hour breakout rooms.
Let's turn on floor lamp 100%.
We'll chat for about 7 minutes and then come back together to mingle a bit more and then say our goodbyes. Pam, will you invite us into our breakout rooms now?